All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Donna Penna here from Worldwide Academy Training Services with our lead instructor, Thurston Gill Jr. We are so glad that you have joined us for this discussion again. I hope that you are going through our videos that we're putting out there and sharing them, liking, sharing, subscribing, helping us to reach more people, because really that's what we're trying to do here. We're really trying to reach the ones who are who are really interested, who really want information, who really want to share what they know about the topics of emergency preparedness, safety and security, personal protection, even CPR first aid and pet first aid. So please make sure that you guys hit that like button, share and subscribe to our channel. And that way you'll get updates. We're putting out new videos every week, trying to come up with some different discussions each week. And we would love to have you join us for those, to view our videos and help us to get the number of subscribers that we need so that we can go live on YouTube at some point very near in the future, so that again we can involve you more in the discussion and chats, and that we can get more people involved in this. We all know that this is a time when things are ramping up here, whether it's weather or things in the world. There are lots of topics to be discussed here, and so we want to reach as many people as we possibly can. So like, subscribe, and share. All right, tonight, Thurston, we are going to discuss why many people who prepare will fail. That doesn't sound like a very upbeat topic to be discussing, but we're going to learn something here. I am absolutely sure. So how is it that if we're preparing, if we're ready, how are we going to fail? We're supposed to be preparing. We're supposed to be getting ready for these things.
Yeah, that's a good question. Unfortunately, there are factors that come into play. Even though we may take the steps to prepare for disasters or crisis events, there are a number of areas that we either neglect, we're ignorant of, or blind to, that we need to be mindful of so that we don't have to fail. Although people do fail, it doesn't mean that they have to fail. And so what we want to do is try to cover some of the bases that are obvious to me, why some people do fail when it comes to making preparations. And the first thing I want to begin with is yes, we're making preparations, but we're preparing for the wrong things. Well, how can that be? Well, one of the things is when we prepare, we like to take shortcuts, unfortunately. And I'm guilty of it sometimes myself. But in order for a plan to come together, we have to make sure that we target the right objectives and make sure that what we do come together to meet those objectives. I want to refer back to the what is referred to as the 6 rights. It was when I got into the mental health profession and I became a medication administrator that I learned the concept behind the 6 rights. And basically what it boils down to is that there's always a right and wrong way to do something, but it goes even further than that. If we want to do something right, we have to make sure that the right person's doing it and they're doing it to the right person. So it's not only the right person receiving it, but the right person that's applying or right person that's doing it. It
Mhm.
also it also requires that whatever's done is done at the right time. The book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible tells us that there's a season or right season for everything, and it is true. Timing is important.
Right.
Also, it's important to be in the right place. Every situation doesn't call for us doing certain things in any place that we desire. Sometimes the right place is important for it to be done. So we can't overlook that.
Mhm.
Also, the right solution. It can't be any solution. It has to be the correct solution for the particular problem.
Mm.
Also, the solution has to be applied in the right way. Okay. Every solution, like every medication, if medication is calls for us to take orally and you take it topically, it's not going to work. And then the last is the right amount. Everything doesn't need to be applied in full gear or full amount. Sometimes some things just need to be tweaked a little bit, and then we go over that. Then we cause damage, or we actually accomplish the reverse of what we're trying to get done. So that's one of the ways that we go down the path of failure, is just not having things right. And then even if you do it right, it's important to make sure it's done well. Okay.
Done right and done well. Like that. Listen, I hope you guys are taking notes. That's why I'm doing here. And I done right and done well. So I want to just reiterate what you said. 6 rights, correct? So
Yes.
right person, right time, right place, right solution, right way. Did I get that right? Right way and right amount.
Right way
and right amount.
and right amount.
All right, good. Well, that's a lot of ways that you could be wrong and fail. So much for my question. Well, there's your answer, Donna. All right, everybody, good night.
and isn't that a fact?
That's it.
I mean, it's by the grace of God that we get anything right, to be honest with you. Whoever takes grace lightly, they're just sadly mistaken.
Hey, listen,
They
I want
really
to read something to you from your own book. It's amazing how things work out. Talk about right timing, right? Because you told me, you sent me that text, was it this morning, about what we were going to talk about tonight, because we didn't know. And so I picked up your books. This is, again, we talked about this last week, the Philoso Devotional and Engineering the Warrior Priest for Dark Times by our very own Thurston Gill Jr. And I was on this section, Wisdom for Survival. And I got to this part where it says, hype is no substitute for knowledge. An ignorant person is not open to learning, but is really hyped about doing something they know nothing about, is often a train wreck with an upcoming appointment.
Yeah.
And I read that and I went, that's perfect. I love that. I mean, that's such a great word picture. You know, we're like that. Oh yeah, okay, now I'm
exactly.
I'm gonna get this ready and I'm gonna get that ready. Let's go. Hey, and
and
then
it's a word picture that all of us are familiar with, aren't we?
Yes. So I thought that was really appropriate to read. Everybody go buy this book. By the way, I finished it today. So when's the next one coming out? Because I'm ready.
Oh, please, no more pressure. No pressure.
Well, I'll probably go back and read through it again, because there's so many good nuggets, like you, one of your other fans described it as being so snackable.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go right back again and start over again because really it's very valuable and it has a lot of good information in there. So a lot of wisdom. So, okay.
Thank you.
So yes, we want to avoid train wrecks.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And there's another aspect that we need to pay attention to. Now we kind of talked about this last week and probably the week before.
Mhm.
The idea of preparing, it can be overwhelming. There's a lot involved. There's a lot of and depending upon the crisis that we're planning for, it could entail a few moving parts, and sometimes it can entail a lot of moving parts. The more moving parts that are involved, the more planning, the more meticulous care you have to take to make sure everything works well. First and foremost, whatever plan we make, we should expect it not to come out the way we thought it would.
Okay.
Okay. We just have to be, and it's not to speak badly about us as individuals or as people. What it does, I think it encourages us to be adaptable because we have to be.
Mhm.
We have to be flexible. We can never feel as though this is the plan and it's going to work. And if it doesn't work, then hey, that's it. You know, that's all I got. We can't think that way. We have to always be adaptable. And most of us have that ability. Many of us have to be pushed into it though, but most of us have that ability. So I want to talk about one of the other failures or one of the other areas that we fail to pay attention to, and that's proper planning.
Mm.
And I use the term PACE planning. PACE planning is a methodology that's used. I think it originated in the military among the communications
Mhm.
folks in the military. And basically what it is, it's a methodology that encourages use of 4 plans. The initial plan, which is P, is a primary plan.
Okay.
The A and PACE is the alternate plan. The C is a contingency plan. And the E is the emergency plan. I just want to briefly talk about each one to kind of give us an idea of how it works and how easy it is to apply.
Mhm.
We don't have a problem with determining our primary plan. That's usually the first plan we come up with. That looks the best, it sounds the best,
Mhm.
It's the least risky, it's the most convenient, usually most convenient, and the most efficient. Okay, and that's where we kind of put our money on. We can't put all our money on that though, because if that doesn't work, we need to have a backup to the backup to the backup. All right. So if the ideal plan doesn't work out, then we have to go to the alternate plan.
Okay.
Now, the alternate plan it's okay, but apparently we've had to make some sacrifices in either a level of risk or convenience or efficiency. And that's why I didn't make it to the primary plan, right?
Right.
So plan A doesn't work, or P, our primary plan doesn't work, then we go to the alternate plan. Now, what if the alternate plan doesn't work? And oftentimes it doesn't. Then we go to the contingency plan. Now, the contingency plan is a little bit more risky. It may be a little bit more risky, maybe a little bit more inconvenient, maybe more inefficient. Okay, but the idea is that we have to have something to work with in case the first 2 don't work out.
Okay.
But we know the contingency plan is probably the most is a lot riskier than the other 2.
Mm-hmm.
More convenient, maybe more efficient. But if that doesn't work, then we have to go with the emergency plan.
Hmm.
The emergency plan looks scary. Highest risk, maybe most inconvenient, maybe most inefficient, but that's all we have. That's all we have.
Kind of like the survival, like this is it, or we're dead.
Exactly. And I just have to go for broke or have another plan.
So
But
just
you can max out on the plans.
Yeah.
But the one is to max out. Don't put all our eggs in the primary or even the contingent. I mean, I'm sorry, or the alternate.
Mm-hmm.
At least have a contingency and emergency plan.
Well, that's a lot of plans.
It is.
Wow. And that's it's like a lot of thinking things through.
Yes, yes. And you know how most of us do it? We just have one plan, and when that crashes and burns, we wing it.
Which becomes the emergency plan.
I would even consider the emergency plan something we'd even consider. At least if you had an emergency plan, you at least considered the risks involved and made some accommodations, or you did something. But just plan A didn't work, and now I'm just going to wing it is no plan at all.
Right. Right. Wow. That is, yeah. That seems like a lot.
Yes, it is.
A lot.
It is, but it just takes some thought. And I think also it helps when you understand that, especially if you're the only one responsible for keeping everybody safe.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't want people to rely on you to help them through this thing, and you have nothing to give them.
Right.
You have nowhere to lead them. If everything goes to pot, at least you did your best. But if our idea of a plan is to have a plan A, if it doesn't work out, I'm going to wing it. I would say that borders on irresponsibility.
Mm.
And I think we need to rethink that.
Let me ask you a question. In your experience, have you found that different, well, I guess I could look at different entities or different organizations, or, let's say a city. Do they have, if the primary plan doesn't work, and I don't know if I want to know the answer to this, then we go to the alternate, and then we go down to then we go, or I pretty much know the answer, like as far as businesses go and things like that. I guess depending on how big they are and how equipped they are to actually put together something like this. I don't know what yeah, go ahead.
I don't think the resources or the size have anything to do with it. It really boils down to the level of importance in the minds of the individuals that make the key decisions. Make it, because there could be individuals way down the hierarchy that are serious about it, but if there's no buy-in
right
at the higher level, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it really doesn't matter. And yes, you do know the answer. Some organizations have a plan and some don't. Some organizations have contingency plans and some don't. And some organizations think they have a plan and they don't.
They don't really have a plan. They have a plan,
really don't
but
have a
it's
plan.
Yeah, I don't want to think about.
Yes,
Well,
but hey, we're compliant. We have it on paper.
Well,
we have documentation.
And maybe that's more of the way, I don't know, because I don't know how planning goes I just want to know that, my city has plans in place as best they can, which is why we need to be training people.
Yeah. Well,
Because,
I
yeah,
I will say FEMA has been driving the issue of planning all along. They're the drivers to these organizations, to the government's administrations to plan. But you can't make a horse drink. You can just lead them to the water. And
the other thing I was thinking too was the insurance companies.
that's another one.
Looking,
That's the compliance thing.
yeah.
And sometimes it's the governmental agency that's forcing the company or private industry to comply, and by having plans and what have you. So it's a mixed bag.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mixed
Yeah.
bag. But I just, on our part, we and I think this is what this is all about what we do, is not to depend upon everybody else to do their job. I hate to say it, and it really, and I don't really want to sound like a doomsday sayer or something like that, but you just can't depend upon everybody else to do their job to protect you when you're quite capable of doing some of these things yourself.
Right. And that's exactly what we are, targeting. And that makes a lot of sense. And the whole spectrum of emergencies, or preparedness, as far as the how big they are, whatever, it it's still a good thing for people to know, because like if it's a huge disaster, like we've said before, the first responders are not going to be available to help everyone, and we need to know what to do.
Yes, and also, um, to tell the truth, some organizations, some agencies, some first responders, and their organizations and systems are often many times broken as well.
Mhm.
Sometimes they have leadership, or their very culture inhibits developing into a more responsive
Mm.
force to deal with emergencies. Um, One of the major problems I've heard through many trainings and meetings that I've had is a lack of coordinated communication between agencies,
Mm.
which
Yes.
I'm on the outside, and maybe I'm speaking out of ignorance, but it seems to me, why don't we just fix the problem where there's lack of coordination? No matter what system you prefer to use or whatever, what system do we need to have to make it work, to make sure that we communicate, to keep people safe, and to get them out of harm's way.
Right.
But who am I? I I don't know the details. I just know that in many agencies, in certain states and cities and what have you, this problem still exists, even though everybody knows it's a
Mm.
problem.
Yeah, and it's like the missing link thing, idea. One missing link in a chain of communication throws it all off.
It's
So,
done. Exactly.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, what else? Anything else that you can?
Yeah, there's another issue as well. Uh, there's an issue of just being devoid of reality.
Mm.
Uh, I remember somebody sharing with me one day that the young people were more preparedness minded than we thought, because they play these zombie games or they watch these zombie movies, and they're very apocalyptic. prepared in mind and so on and so forth.
Right.
And I have to say, at first blush, I said, you have a point there. But then as I had time to ponder over it, they need a reality check, because there really are crisis situations that occur that really do not mirror any aspect of what you see on TV, the movies, or play on a video game. I'm sorry, it just
Right.
isn't.
It's just not, when you're in the real situation, you can't compare it to what's on the flat screen, which is,
No,
you know,
you cannot.
two-dimensional. And you're in the
You cannot.
midst of emotions, and yeah, I mean, and I just relating to my own experiences, you know, you just can't imagine unless you've been in it.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, so we, you know, when you first said that, I'm thinking, yeah, that's true. But it's not, it's just not the same. It's not real.
It's not. It's not real, and I think we do a disservice if we don't prepare people for what they, as much as we can, for what they can expect. That I'll tell you, even just smells. Certain smells that you would never, you're not going to smell the smell of human flesh being burned on a video game, or a person's intestines out on the street, or the sound of bones breaking. You know, certain things you just not. You just not. And those are the very things that you know, could I don't know. I mean, I don't think anybody really can be prepared for a lot of these things, but I want to make sure that at least they're not under the impression that it is as clean or pristine and perfect as it is in real life. Even when we do our basic life support classes, yeah, we're doing training in a very sterile, controlled environment. Nobody expects to do CPR on a person in a very small bathroom between a toilet and a tub. Okay, or take an individual, trying to get a 300-pound individual off the bed so that you can do chest compressions by yourself, or with another person who's still struggling to do it. Those are realities, and it's not. It's not pretty. It's not pretty at all, to be honest with you.
Right, and it's good that that should be brought up, and people should be made aware of those things. I'll tell you, I'll use an example today, and this is very, you know, just simple. I was walking on the trail today on a different part, hadn't been on for a while, and I came upon, on the left side of me on the trail, a dead deer. My reaction right away was like, I don't want to smell it, because I could tell, like, just glancing at it, it was, I've been there for a while, and I'm like, okay, I'm not breathing. I don't want to smell it. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to have that picture. And that's just for a deer, you know, on the side of the road or the path. But imagine, I mean, yeah, but I think it, like you said, it's very good that, and very important that we should be aware of those things, because not just children, but anybody who would come upon, you know, an emergency situation like that.
And I know it's difficult to train for reality, but we should do the best we can. But we should never, ever make it seem like it's going to be neat and easy.
No.
I make training scenarios, I make it more challenging as much as I can. And the more time I have, the more challenging I'll make it, because I don't want them to, you know, this may sound silly. I don't want to create a scenario where they succeed. I want them to know what it's like when a plan doesn't come together, and what do you do about it.
Right, and you're good at that. I like how you do that as you are, as you know, as we're role playing during your trainings. And it kind of catches you off guard, like, okay, you just showed me how to do these chest compressions, and, you know, and what to do when I go up there. And then you throw this thing in, like, and it makes you think like, oh, now what do I do? You know?
Yes,
And
yes,
but those are the kinds of things that we do, like you said, we do have to train for.
right.
And the more training, and see, this is the area which, I mean, I know life is what it is, and everybody's has their things they have to do in their schedule and all that, but it's like people come, they get their CPR certification training, boom, they're off, you know, until for another 2 years until they have to be certified again. Meanwhile, you know, we're offering some workshops where you can just practice your skills, and people don't want to come because they think, well, I already have the certification.
Right,
But if you
exactly.
don't, it's like anything else. If you don't practice it,
And that brings me back to, I want to reverse a little bit in planning.
mm,
A plan should not be legitimized unless it's been rehearsed and it's proven to work.
mm,
Unless it's been rehearsed, unless you take your plan and you rehearse or go through the motions of what that plan looks like and how it's applied, as far as I'm concerned, you know, you just don't consider it a valid plan until it's proven that I can do it and it works.
all right, so I'm writing this down because I think this is a real good soundbite here. A plan should not be legitimized unless it has been proven.
Rehearsed and proven
Oh,
that it
rehearsed
works.
and proven. I had it backwards. Rehearsed.
So you must have, you
And
have to drill the skills,
yes,
and you have to prove that those skills and those scenarios work.
right,
The equipment works, that your resources are going to be there, that everything, you know, everything comes together the way you expect it to. And if it doesn't, then what do you need to do to
right,
make it solid?
right. It takes a lot of practice.
It takes practice, but nobody wants to hear that. Right?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear.
No, and maybe, I don't know, maybe that's the, you know, again, maybe that's another level of the people in the network who want to learn those things, you know, want to learn things at that level, because not everybody is going to, yeah, are you frozen? You look frozen.
Yes, it was
Okay.
frozen for a bit.
I don't know if, did you hear me okay? That
I
maybe
can hear you
that's,
now.
yeah, maybe that's another level for our network of people. Um, you know, that group of people who would want to put the time in to be able to learn, you know, to rehearse and to prove those things work, because we know that not everybody's going to want to do that.
No,
So
no. I fortunately work in an organization that uh, that was very receptive to the idea of not only making sure that the people were trained, but also making sure or making room for them to be drilled in their training. And I tell you, it was a blessing to be able to work where I work for the time that I've worked here.
mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't expect them to accept everything that I proposed, but a great deal of it was accepted, and uh, we made some progress in terms of providing a higher level of care and protection to the folks there at
Yeah, and
facility where I work.
that's good to hear too, because you know that, and those are things that you learn, that you know, those people may go off, then they'll still have that knowledge, at least, you know, of what they learned when they were there. So very valuable. Yeah,
Yeah.
very valuable.
Well, let's move to the next one.
Okay.
The next kink in the armor is the lack of their understanding of the survival priorities. Lack of their understanding of survival priorities. And what I mean by that is, when it comes to survival skills
Mm-hmm.
and when and what is applied, there is a order of priority. First and foremost is, unless, no matter what the situation is, unless you have a secure environment, nothing else is going to go well. So in terms of survival is concerned, we have to make sure that we have a secure environment.
Yeah.
We got to get past this idea of food and and shelter. And if you can't maintain a secure environment, your food will be taken away from you. Your shelter will be destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, I think, and people don't think of that.
No.
Even when you're, and that again, it comes with training. Like, in you're in an emergency situation, right away, you just want to rush in and help the person, or you want to make sure your family's safe, and people run into situations that they can't handle, then that are unsafe.
Right.
So,
safe and secure environment is number one.
mm-hmm. All right.
After a safe, secure environment, the next priority should be some degree of shelter, especially if you're exposed by bad weather or outdoor conditions. You should secure shelter.
Mm-hmm.
After you secure shelter, if there's any first aid or medical treatment that needs to be provided, that needs to be provided next. Now there are times, I will say this, there are times where a medical emergency may require for me to, or us to, kind of triage an individual before we get to shelter. Like, for instance, if a person is experiencing an arterial bleed, I want to stop the bleeding first.
Right.
Before I go for shelter. But for any further treatment, I need to be in a sheltered environment. Ideally, we need to be in a sheltered environment.
Right. We
don't want to be treating people, medically treating people we don't have to in the rain or snow or.
Right. But if it's a life-threatening.
Exactly.
Risk.
So ideally, when it comes to first aid or medical treatment, we want to have had shelter first.
Okay.
After first aid and medical treatment, then we can go to water.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I think most people understand that water is important. I just don't think that in a crisis event that many people consider it as important as it needs to be. I have to remind people in class that in order for you to digest any food, water is required. If you do not have water, but you have food, and you eat food without water, you're just expediting your demise even faster. That's how serious it is. Okay. We can go for a period of time without food. So 28 days, 20 days, 30 days, whatever. Right. Water, a couple of days.
Yeah.
And that's if you're not exerting yourself. It's not hot. It's not,
Right. Right.
Wow. But it has to be in that order.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So once people understand
Mm,
the survival priorities, or the
the order.
core components of the survival priorities, we stand a lot better chance of succeeding and surviving many situations that impact those areas. But it has to be basically in that order.
And would you say then that this order of priority could also be maybe kind of an outline for planning uh
Absolutely,
for planning your plan for your plan, putting together your plan, you
absolutely,
know?
absolutely. They are work together. They
Okay.
are linked together, and many people use that as a guide.
That's what I was thinking. Like if you, I mean, again, this whole idea of planning and preparedness can be overwhelming. A lot of people don't know where to start.
Right,
And
right,
maybe if they had something like, if they understood this order of priority, they could say,
right.
okay, well, like first question, if this happens, where can I go to, if I have to leave, where am I going to be secure? If I don't leave, where in the house am I going to be secure? Those kinds of things. So it
And-
might be a good
mhm.
place for people to start.
Exactly. Or I have a place, but um, I realize it doesn't have any smoke detectors. Look, I have my wife and kids in this place. I have food stored, water stored, so on and so forth, medical supplies, so
Mhm.
on and so forth. Then there's a fire and it's all gone.
It's gone.
Or worse yet, somebody gets hurt or killed, all because we didn't put safety and security first.
Mm,
We have to
yeah.
we have to put our priorities in order.
And something so simple as that
That's right.
could literally go up in smoke.
Pretty much. Pretty much. And especially for those individuals that have in their planning the use of oil lamps and candles and what have you. And come on, we come on. We have to safety and security first. We can't take any risks like that.
Yeah, especially with children or elderly people.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Okay.
The next one is having confidence in the wrong things and the wrong people.
I'll tell you what, Thurston, we have a lot of places we can fail. Having confidence in the wrong people.
Yes, and the wrong things.
That
Revisit.
could be very dangerous.
But yes, I mean, it's just a fact. I think that, especially from a Christian perspective, we're taught, and I hope many people remember, and when it comes to having confidence in certain people,
Yeah.
people are ruled more easily by the charismatic.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And that the charismatic or charisma, it scratches those itchy ears.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be careful. We have to be careful. That's how many cults are formed,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the area that we're talking about. I unfortunately I'm quite alarmed at how many people are associating with groups or individuals that I can't say if they're good one way or the other, but I just tell you, I just see flags.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm.
So we got to be careful about having confidence in certain people, but also going back to what we talked about before, having confidence in gear and tools. at the expense of skills and craft.
Yes.
I said it before, and I'll continue to say it again. The more skills you have, the less toys you need.
Yeah.
Because when those toys don't work, or tools don't work, then what do you do? What do you do?
Right, or if you don't know how to use them.
That's another thing too. Oh, if I see somebody comes to me with another go bag full of junk that they don't know how to use, I'm gonna scream.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm patient because I used to be there. I was in that group myself years ago.
Yeah.
So I do have a level of tolerance. But
I can relate.
but when you've been told over and over again, don't continue to do it.
Yeah. Goes back to practicing.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. But at the same time, you know, we're not gonna toss tools that are effective to help us accomplish what we need to accomplish just because it's a tool. And I just want to, you know, for instance, I'm not going to throw away my cigarette lighters to figure out how to light a fire with the, you know, flint and steel. No, I'm going to use the cigarette lighter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
But I should have at least two other means by which to start a fire if I have to.
Right. Because 2 is 1 and 1 is none.
You got it. You
I
got
learned.
it.
See? Write that down, people.
You
2
got
is
it.
1 and 1 is none.
You got it. So having faith in people and things, it really, our faith and confidence in those things will fall apart under pressure. It's guaranteed. They'll fall apart in the pressure of the actual crisis. Faith and confidence in the wrong things, because it was just a facade.
Right. Right.
The other one is 2 more, I'm almost finished.
Okay.
The other one is misinformation.
Okay.
Misinformation in terms of training and resources, in terms of the perception of the actual crisis itself. And then we're going to touch on ideologies and allegiances.
That one, that in terms of the crisis itself is a good one.
Yes, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I was reading a study on whether people panic as much as we think they do in a time of crisis. And according to the study, we at least initially, we really don't. Most people. I mean, you'll see behaviors that are consistent with survival behaviors, but as far as irrational, chaotic, and you know, panic, most people don't respond that way. But it did bring out, the study did indicate, though, that we have a problem of responding to whatever level of urgency that we're notified of. Like, for instance, we don't take a lot of warnings seriously, especially when it comes to evacuations.
Right, weather.
We don't do well in those areas. We have to see proof. We have to, especially if if there was a history of false alarms,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
we just don't do well. And that has been the cause of many a tragedy.
Mm, yeah.
But in terms of misinformation, what I like to do is not I like to do, I think it's necessary for me to do, is I have to listen to what's going on. You can't shut out all the news. You have to filter all the news, but you can't shut out all the news.
Yeah.
You have to have some degree of discernment, especially for those of us who are believers and depend upon the Spirit to give us understanding and wisdom and insight. We must do that. But also the Lord expects us to use our common sense, if you will, wisdom and understanding,
Right.
to come to certain conclusions and to make the right choices, because the Bible says that it's common sense of wisdom and understanding that's going to keep us safe.
Right.
And so listening and having an ear to listen to the right voices. You can't listen to every voice. Oh, Lord, help us. You can't listen to every voice.
No.
But I will give a word of caution. You need to listen to a cross section of voices. Okay, it can't be just the person you like to listen to. You may have to listen to the person that you don't like to listen to as well. You need to compare notes. You need to compare information, because things do not usually happen in a vacuum.
Right.
There's a lot of warning that's usually indicated. And so we want to be in a place where we are listening. We're not ignoring the obvious. You do a good job of reminding us of the kookiness of our weather patterns. It can't be ignored. I'm sorry. We have to. What does it mean? What does it translate into in terms of how we prepare? I don't know in terms of as individuals, but I do know we can't ignore it. We need to find out.
Yes, and I've been, I do have my favorites because like you said, I do listen to, I do tune into a couple of them, and it's interesting because you can compare and you can tell the ones that are the hype guys,
Yeah.
There's going to be a disaster every day.
Yes.
But there are some that, they really are, responsible. They put it out there we're not trying to scare anybody,
Right.
but we want you to be prepared if this is, and then they use all different kinds of, like you're saying, they're listening to whoever they listen.
Exactly. Exactly.
So yeah, and in terms of crisis situations too, when you're talking about listening, I'm thinking too that we can't we can't react. We think, okay, there's an emergency, boom, I got to do something, right?
Yes.
And there are cases where you have to do something, but you do have to stop, pause. I think pause.
Yes.
Listen, like you said, what's going on? Who's doing what? Look around. Is the place, is it secure? Is it safe? Those kinds of things, because we can rush right into
Absolutely.
our own demise. So
absolutely. And we don't want to be rushed into a decision-making process, but at the same time, some decisions have to be made.
Right.
Very little information. There needs to be, I don't want to overuse the word balance, but it needs to be a prioritization. There has to always be a priority. Remember we said before, it has to be right. Right time, right place, right amount, right way, right solution. Okay, right person.
And decisions have to be made.
and decisions have to be made.
Sometimes we don't like to make decisions,
Nope.
but they have to
And,
be.
and,
So,
and the hard part is living with it.
yep. And I think we touched on that last week a little bit too, didn't we? Like we talked about that actually at the end. Of how maybe sometime having a discussion about living with, or how
Right.
to talking about the psychological part of
Yes.
the responders and things like that. But
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
For
yeah,
coping with the traumatic
right.
stress of certain incidents. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just want to touch on the final one because I know we're running out of time.
Okay. Yeah.
That is our ability to generate a mindset of self-denial.
Mm.
We don't want to believe certain things are happening when they actually are.
Okay. Okay.
And the sooner we accept what is really happening, the better we are going to be in position to do something about it.
Mm.
It's difficult to stomach the idea that something is actually happening in front of you or happening to you
Mm.
that in your mind should not be happening. This is a person that I trusted. This is a person that I helped.
Mm-hmm.
And he is hurting me or she is hurting me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not possible. She or he can't be doing this.
Mm.
Now we got to get past that. What do we need to do to stop it?
Well, my son would never do that. My daughter would never
Yes,
do that.
you got it. Anna, you got it.
Yeah, it's sad to see.
You have it.
Yeah.
And that gets in the way of our ability to survive and overcome in some crisis situations. And so no matter how much we prepared, that was our Achilles heel.
Mm.
We just refuse to believe what's actually happening.
Wow. Yeah. Ooh. That's a tough one.
Yes, it
One.
is. It is. I
But
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, but well, and again, depending on what the situation is, having that, but always having the wisdom and discernment and the maybe the desire to know truth at all costs
Yes.
is what
Yes.
helps with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Hmm.
And some of us, it boils down to some of us don't want to know the truth or don't want to experience the truth. We are at peace with our own truth,
Mm-hmm.
which is not truth at all.
Right.
So
I saw that on a larger scale, as far, I mean, years ago when my daughters were in elementary school. And we had an incident when my youngest daughter was at elementary school, and there was something that happened that she saw, and we brought it to the principal, to the school, and they, and this, I mean, you know, my daughter's what, I'm losing track of how old they are now, 30 some, without doing the year and subtracting. Let's see, 20, 23, it's what, 36? I don't know, somewhere around that. And this was all before the time of, the schools having their security, locking their doors, having security guard, all that. This was way before that. In fact, after this incident is actually when in that school district, a couple of the mothers and I got together and went to the school board, and that's when they started to form a safety committee. But it took them years to really put something together. Like, I couldn't believe like how long it took them.
Yeah.
But I saw that, like, oh, this can't happen in oops, my thing is popping up here. Why is it doing that? Am I still on?
Yeah, those type of things don't happen here.
Yeah, like, what's happening here? I don't know. Can you, hopefully you can't see this. That's popping.
No, we can't. We can't.
It's up there. I don't know why. There it is. Okay. Does that every time to me. Yeah, I mean, it can happen here, or we certainly don't want to admit that because it would make us look bad.
Yes. Yes.
But the
Yep.
truth of the matter is, you've got to face this issue. You've got to do something before something terrible happens,
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely. And there is a level, I think there's a difference between being self-denial and being involved in a cover-up.
yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because it jeopardizes funding, reputation, and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
But it's always at the expense of victims, though.
Yeah, sadly.
It's always at the expense of victims.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
and that's why, again, go back to, we have to be responsible for our own care. We have to be responsible for our own safety and security, not leave it for anybody else. Yes, we hold them accountable for their jobs, but no, I'm not going to put all my trust and confidence in you when I can do X, Y, and Z. And I not only can do it, I will be doing
And and that, it just, it surprises me that as far as children go, that parents are not more concerned about this. They think, oh, well, I'll be there in a minute. I'll get my kids. I don't care. I'm getting in that school. Blah, blah. No, you're not. What can you tell your child? I mean, there are certain things you can't do, but what can, I'm just surprised that more of them are not actively getting their children trained. It's beyond my understanding. So
it's a lot. I think parenting in itself is a beast.
we know.
But
And
I'm not going to give us a free pass.
Mhm.
Priorities, because the very thing we neglect now, if it ends up being a crisis, I bet you're going to find time for it after.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Is that it? You don't
Well,
have
I
any
just
more?
want to end with a note of encouragement.
Okay, that's what I was gonna say. Come on now.
We see the holes. We see where we can or have the potential to be vulnerable. If none of these issues plague your planning, God bless you. You're good to go. Just stay on top of it.
Mm.
But if you, as well as me and many others, see holes in our plan, that these highlight, then let's get busy to do what we need to do. Say again, we're not looking to be at 100% complete with our planning and with our training, and we're not looking for that to happen overnight.
Right.
But we can take steps. We can take portioned measures to make sure that we start to address these issues until they're eradicated, that they're done, that we're now in a place where we can feel confident, we can feel protected, we can feel satisfied that we've done all we can do.
Right.
And that's what we're striving for.
And start somewhere.
Start
somewhere. Yeah. Wow. Well, I have pages of notes. Guys, if you guys have not been taking notes, I mean, you could go back and just actually listen and watch this again, take notes. I mean, this is, Thurston, thank you. This has been so valuable, this information. You have really given us a lot to think about.
Well, I'm glad, but honestly, I wish I could take a whole lot of credit for it. I think this is just reminding everybody what they know already.
I don't know. I think, and maybe if we know it, we're not aware of, it's not, you brought it through to our forefront of our minds. So
yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah, make sure you all like and share this, subscribe, get it out to as many people as you possibly can, because this is extremely valuable information. And we're going to need it. We never know. But all we have to do is take a little sneak peek at what's going on in the world today, from weather all the way to nations. We need to, and don't be overwhelmed. We need, like we said, we just need to take a step, do something, do what you can today. And spread the news. Guys, don't forget to visit our website for our upcoming trainings, Worldwide Academy Training Services.org. Yes, you have to type it all out. I don't know why I did that, but all of our trainings, upcoming trainings, are listed on our website. And also don't forget that if you don't see something on there that you'd like us to train your group, or I mean, we can come, your families, we talked about that last week. We can come to you, and just, and I want to say something too about the trainings. I mean, yes, this is very serious information, but we really do enjoy ourselves when we do this as well. We have a good time. We make new friends. And so, check out our website, check out our Facebook group. We have several, again, as I'll be listing those below. We have a pet first aid and CPR certification training. So you can check that out, and we have a group on Facebook for that. We have an emergency preparedness group, private group, that you can join there, and of course our Worldwide Academy Training Services page, which we would love for you to like and share that page as well. Again, getting that information out to as many people as we possibly can. And if you have ideas for things that you would like to hear us discuss, or if you'd like to be a guest, or something that you would like to share, or know of somebody, please message us. We would love to know what your ideas are, and we'll see what we can do about it. Anything else? Did I miss anything? I do want to say, along with our usual trainings that we have a pretty special one coming up in August, which is an introduction to wilderness first aid, which will be held at an event in Pennsylvania. Again, it's an introduction because this is a rather long course, but We are part of another, an event that's going on, but it's open to anyone who wants to come. So definitely, Thurston, do you want to just give a short, like maybe summary of what that intro class would be on?
Well, basically, it's understanding the principles and concepts relating to providing first aid or basic life support in a remote or limited resource environments. So situations where you may be hours away or days away from EMS or other medical support, providing you with a basic understanding or basic knowledge and skills to be able to secure the survival of an individual for as long as it takes to get them to where they need to be.
Okay. Yeah, it's going to be I'm sure, a really good training. So, all right, well, that's it. Thank you for joining us. Thank you again, Thurston. I really appreciate you and all that you do and the knowledge that you share and your heart for this subject and for people. So, all right, we will see you all next time. Be blessed. Remember, keep prepping, keep learning, keep sharing, educate. Where this is our mission: educate, train, and release. So we'll see you again soon.
Okay, grace and peace, everybody.
All right.